both.
Continuous session, sir. Okay.
Okay, then as she said, we'll start actually with RTI only. Now, you might wonder actually why we teachers need to know something about RTI. That is something I'll tell you. You may not be knowing actually the actual significance of the RTI. Here, there are two things that we must actually discuss. One is the questions from RTI exclusively related to academics, universities, and colleges. You want that presentation or RTI in general? RTI in general means entire actually act. I'll give you a very brief actually bird's eye view of the act where you can use it, and you will also be trying to in fact actually give information if someone actually asks under RTI. That is one thing. Secondly, the universities and education institutions actually in the last 2 decades, they have been receiving actually particular kinds actually of applications where many of the teachers and the university officials will be keep asking me what should be the answer, etc., etc. I will be giving them. So I think I must give you a general outline actually of RTI. Then subsequently, if there are any particular questions relating to your college or university, that we shall actually look into it. So let me not actually just go back to talk about actually the historical background. I straight away actually come to the subject because we have just one and a half hours to cover this one. Usually what we do is for the government servants, we train them actually in 2 days about RTA. Even 2 days actually are not sufficient. And many of them actually in 2 days, they'll be learning something. Still actually they find that actually they do not know the most of the things actually of RTA. Be that as it may, coming back to the subject, this Right to Information Act came into existence in 2005. So this is an act where it makes mandatory on the part of the government departments to give the information, whatever information or certain of the prescribed information, if a person asks the government department, they are bound to give it. So this actually created huge problem because there are certain kinds of information the government actually is not willing to give, and some of the information they should not give also, which are actually confidential and secret, and something I'll tell you, which cannot be simply be publicized because of various other complications. Secondly, there are certain of the information which they are bound to give. There is a lot of confusion actually amongst the public servants as to which one actually is confidential, which need not be given, and which one is not actually confidential, which need to be given. So this is exactly the point. That is why the act actually has made it very clear. If you go through the act, it clearly lays down as to what information should be given and what information should not be given. The question actually comes into picture. See, a right to seek an information from the Department of government department is a fundamental right under Article 19. Those who have studied actually Constitution, you will be knowing it. It's a fundamental right. No government department can ever deny this right. Information, whichever whatever actually that is being asked by an applicant. If the department denies, it is violation of that person's actually fundamental right. So this was granted us actually in 1950 when we accepted our constitution under Article 19. So in spite of the fact that actually seeking information from the government actually is a fundamental right, many of our government servants actually, one, they were not actually knowing that it is a fundamental right. Secondly, even if they knew that it was a right that should be given, they were not actually willing to give the information because the information actually that was asked was not could easily be collected and given. So that is one thing. Therefore, we had to in fact bring in this law in 2005, June 15th, it came into existence for four purposes. Please try to understand this one. We had a right, which was a fundamental right to seek the information, but we did not actually have a kind of a procedure as to how it should be given. Say, for example, information, what information is to be given, what information is not to be given must be made very clear. I can't simply ask whether you are married or not. If you are married, what are your children doing? How old is your daughter? Can I ask such information because you happen to be a government servant? It cannot be. So therefore, this act actually clearly lays down certain of the things very clearly, defines what is information. It simply says, this is exactly the meaning of information under this particular act. If someone actually wants to ask the information, he has to ask only this information, nothing else. He should not ask. So this point is made very clear. So this actually creates a boundary where the seeker cannot simply just go beyond that actually line. One. Secondly, if the information actually is not given, in spite of the fact that actually he deserves that information, then there has to be some kind of a mechanism to make the government servant to give the information. Or there should be some kind of a punishment. So that punishment actually is, if a government servant is asked information, he doesn't give the information. If he doesn't give, what can be done or where I should go in order to seek the information. That details are given. And thirdly, the question is, within what time the information should be given. This is another very important. In India, sometimes time stands still. You give an application, come after 6 months, you say, why are you in a hurry? Come after some time, they would say. So therefore, we have actually given a timeline very clearly stating that certain of the information must be given in 48 hours. Certain of them should be given within 30 days. Certain of the information must be given in 35 days. And lastly, some of the information may be given in 40 days. There are 4 timelines, which I'm actually going to discuss. Therefore, the very first purpose of bringing this act actually is to create a practical regime. A practical regime as to how you can actually enforce your right under this act. That is one thing. Secondly, the purpose of this particular act actually is to bring about transparency actually in public administration and accountability. Transparency means whatever actually the government departments, public servants do, it should be clearly visible, transparent. In a democracy, every citizen actually has the right to go and actually see it. He must be given an opportunity to see what actually government servant is doing, the department is doing. This transparency must be maintained. And if at all something goes wrong, the person who is responsible actually must be held responsible. That is what exactly we call accountability. So transparency and accountability are 2 most important actually aspects of efficient governance. So therefore, we could achieve both these by bringing this act. So this act actually brings about a kind of a transparency. I can actually come to your college, ask the information about actually the funding that you have received, the project that you have carried out, and all the information, 25 lakh rupees that you have received, how you have spent, whether you have used it properly or improperly, etc., etc. All that information I will tell you by paying 10 rupees actually as application fees, and for each page by paying actually 2 rupees, I can get the whole information. If something actually is amiss, something actually is wrong, you are not been able to spend the money properly, or say the money has been actually unauthorizedly used for something else, I can certainly hold you responsible actually by going to the court with this as an evidence, right? That is important. That is the reason why it has come into, RTA has come into existence, transparency and accountability. Thirdly, ours is a democracy. And democracy, I'll tell you, ultimately, the people actually will elect their leaders. So it is the privilege of the teachers to elect their leader, choose their governance, etc. So in order to make this one actually very efficient and convenient, we must actually make the people to know about the background of the person who is contesting the election so that he could become a leader tomorrow. So if you want, in fact, actually vote a person, before knowing actually if you vote and subsequently you may have to regret it because without knowing actually his background, you voted him. He has come into power. So here actually there is an occasion where you can background check, you can do it and find out actually what he was, what is he, etc., etc. If you feel that actually this person is worthy of belief and faith, you can certainly vote him. So that is possible, I'll tell you, only through this actually act where through RTA, you can seek all the information of the person who is actually contesting or participating in a democratic process. And the last reason why this act came into existence is you can hold the government actually responsible for anything that actually goes wrong. Say, for example, a bridge is built, within 6 months it collapses. They have spent actually 25 crore rupees actually for the bridge. Public fund actually they have used it. Within 6 months actually it collapses because of bad work, mismanagement, etc., etc. You can't simply just bury the whole issue actually under the carpet. You can hold each one of them actually responsible actually for the collapse of the bridge, and it is possible actually only through getting all the information, inside information, of the department, and subsequently use it as evidence before the court of law and seek actually prosecution of that particular person. So this is what exactly is called accountability of the governance. So these are actually the four very important actually objectives of this particular act. That is the reason why they call this actually as the second constitution. It is as important as the constitution. Most of the democracies where they have a democratic form of governance, where the constitution actually speaks about that, will also have an act called Freedom of Information Act. Some of them call it Freedom of Information Act, and we call it actually Right to Information Act. Both are one and the same. You want to make your democracy a successful actual experiment or a successful actual instrument of democratic mechanism. I think this act actually is an essential part of it, and we as teachers, I'll tell you, must actually know about it. Not only we should know about it, we must also create a kind of an awareness actually among our students, so that actually tomorrow, when they really in fact actually want to exercise their franchise, they must actually be very careful in understanding it. This is the purpose. This is the purpose. Now, how it came into existence, I'll just actually briefly give you a background and straight away dive into the act. See, this act actually, there was an act called Official Secrets Act that was actually passed by British government. And the British government passed it because the information of the government should not be passed on to the enemy countries. That is the purpose. It was actually 1923. So any information which is useful to our enemy should not be given away by our public servants. If someone does it, he is liable for some kind of a prosecution. That act actually remained even after British actually left, and our government servants are started actually recklessly using this particular act. So this act actually said only that information which is sensitive, we should not be given to enemy countries. That is what exactly this act meant. But our public servants actually considered every information with the government actually is a sensitive information. They should not be given because in order to give, they had to in fact actually find it out, give, and there will be a lot of actually problems in giving it. So that actually literally created a kind of stagnation actually of information for free movement, right? So thinking this one, I tell you, in 1997, Tamil Nadu government and Goa government actually for the first time passed this act. You know who actually passed this act in Tamil Nadu? J.S.S. J.S.S. passed it. And Jayalalitha actually was arrested actually in corruption charges basing on this act only. She was sent to jail. And she came back and went away once and for all. Right? And she was prosecuted at the end of the day, I'll tell you, only upon the evidence the prosecutor gets actually from Right to Information Act. Goa also passed it. Even Karnataka and Rajasthan, UP, they also passed in 2000. And not only that, in 2001, AP, Assam, Delhi, governments also started, passed it. And Kerala, MP, in 2002 and 2003, they passed this act. In spite of many of the states actually passing this act, the act actually had some severe actually backdrops, severe actually shortcomings. So, and when the then government was under a kind of a pressure because many of the states are passing this particular act, but the central government actually has not brought this particular act into existence. There was a pressure on the government, UPA government at that time. Manmohan Singh actually was the prime minister. So therefore, they also wanted to bring an act called the Freedom of Information Act in 2002. That was such a useless act, I tell you, piece of legislation. It did not actually serve any purpose at all. So subsequently, everybody, especially actually the people who are fighting actually to bring this particular act, they revealed actually the severe drawbacks of this particular act. As a consequence of it, in 2005, the same government actually amended, brought in the present actually act, which I would say is substantially effective with 31 sections and 2 schedules. What are they? Briefly, I'll tell you. And I'll give you an overview of this particular act, then subsequently talk about some of the cases. And if you have any doubts, if you have received any kind of an RTI query, how it should be answered, one. Secondly, if you are interested in seeking some information from any government regarding your own profession or career or your appointment, etc., how you must actually go about everything actually I'm going to tell you subsequent. Now, we will try to know what exactly this act is all about. There are 31 sections. Some of the sections are very, very important here. One is section 2F, information. It clearly says what one can ask under RTA and what one should not ask under RTA. If you don't actually make it very clear, I'll tell you, people will grossly misuse it. It is being misused already. Many people are misusing this particular act and making actually huge money, property, etc. So in order to avoid that, actually the act clearly says, so information means 2FSS. Information means any material in any form, including records, documents, memos, emails, opinions, advices, press releases, circulars, orders, etc. There are 15 kinds of information. Government of Karnataka has about 85 departments. Government of India has got about 150 departments. Go to any department of the state government, central government, there can only be 15 kinds of information. There cannot be anything more than that. So you are permitted to ask any of those information in a particular required format, not as you like, not in a format actually which you like. So these are the 15 kinds, right? And not only that, besides these 15 kinds of information, a government department will also have certain information taken from its citizens, which is a private information. Say, for example, your municipality or your corporation seeks a lot of information actually about your house that you have built. What is its actually the area, the site dimension, the kind of material that you have used, who are the people who live there, and etc. All these things you'll have to underline, you'll have to submit to your corporation or municipality so that basing on that they can actually fix here actually what? Housing tax. Right? House tax they can actually fix. So this information if you don't give, they'll come and collect it, or they simply impose a kind of a tax, you will be compelled to give that information so that actually you can have a reasonable tax. That is a personal information. Say, for example, your dimension of your site, the built area, the kind of material that you have used, people who live in the house is an absolutely private information. If I come to your house and ask, what is the area of your actually site? If I ask, will you ever actually give me? Unless and until you are a very close friend of mine, you would say, get lost. No, this is my information. Why should I give you? If, say, for example, I want it actually for a public purpose, I can't get it from you, but I can get it certainly from the corporation. If I tell the corporation, I want this information for a public purpose, they'll give this. So besides these 15 kinds of information, which I spoke to you about actually 2A, in 2B, the private information collected. Say, for example, you are all teaching in a college. Say, for example, you are a principal of a college. I come to your college and say, how many girls are studying here and how many boys are studying? Give me information. See, I'll tell you, this is something I'll tell you unless and until the act provides, you must give. So this you will certainly give me. There are 150 girls and 250 boys, you would certainly say. If I were to ask, say, for example, to which caste they belong, what is their income, how many children are at home, these are all private information, personal information. But during admission, many of this information, you will be able to get it because law actually says before admission, you must get this information. So you can actually have personal information as a government department and keep it as confidential. If someone actually public comes and asks, I'll tell you, without any public purpose, you can't give. That's a perfect. If there's a public purpose, this information given. Therefore, one first actually important actually filter has been created here that You can't simply ask any information you like. If you want to really ask actually an information RTI, you'll have to ask only these 15 kinds plus actually certain of the personal information that you have received according to provisions of law. And nextly, who are supposed to give this information? Who is eligible to give this information? Can you go and actually a Kirana shop owner, you can ask, can you go and actually file an RTA application saying that what is your turnover per day? I don't think actually any shop owner will ever give you, because you say it is none of your bloody business, get lost. I'm an answerable only to GST people or government people, not to you. You cannot ask. So there are certain of the authorities, only they are supposed to give this information, not anybody else. There are four kinds of authorities who are supposed to give. One is any authority which is created by the Constitution or under the Constitution. They are bound to give this information. So the Constitution itself has created the body, or it is created under the provisions of the Constitution. That authority must give information. Secondly, any law made by the Parliament, and it has created a kind of an organization or a public authority, all those actually authorities must give it. Any authority created by a law made in the Parliament must give it. One. And third one is by any other law made by the state legislature. If a state authority, a state legislature passes a law through which it creates certain of the authorities, all those authorities actually must give it. So, for example, many of you actually may be from private colleges aided by the government. I'll tell you, this is possible because government actually has made a provision where a private body is also, private college also can receive some kind of a benefit actually from the government, what is actually called grant in it, right? So therefore, you are bound to give actually this information. Lastly, any private organization which is controlled by the government or which is financed by the government must also be able to give actually the information. These are the public authorities. I think it makes very, very clear. But I would say, I'll tell you, you are controlled actually whether you do actually government activities or private activities or in consultation with the government do any kind of an activities. RT actually literally covers everybody. It literally covers everybody. Say, for example, I come to your shop and ask actually what is your turnover. You say it's a private shop, get lost, I don't give. I can seek that particular information actually from GST department or commercial tax department, take that particular information, and I can actually use it. So therefore, literally, say you go to a pawn shop and ask actually how many cigarettes do you sell every day. He would say, please actually take a cigarette and get lost. Don't ask all this information. If you really want that information, what you must do now? Go to corporation, ask him whether actually this particular shop actually has been permitted to run this particular thing and what is his turnover. The corporation or the municipality will be able to give this information. Therefore, RTA directly it actually regulates certain other people, and indirectly it really in fact regulates everyone which is actually within the ambit of law. So that is public authority. Next, the information shall be given actually by looking into the records. Records actually, earlier records means actually a kind of a form, a traditional record in the form of a book, paper, sign, signature, etc., which did not include, I'll tell you earlier, electronic documents. Your electronic documents, I'll tell you, is a document which doesn't have a physical existence unless and until the output is taken out of a device, isn't it? So therefore, these days records includes document, manuscript, file, microfilm, facsimile, any reproduction of image, and microfilm, any material produced by a computer or any other device. All of them actually will be record. This information should be given. Okay, that's it. Now, the most crucial actually definition you must actually know is right to information. Most of you think that actually right to information means those people actually will pay 10 rupees, file an application where you ask them actually, he asks certain of the information and you collect actually 2 rupees per page and give the information, isn't it? In physical form. Most of the people actually think that way. But 2J actually goes much beyond that, much beyond that. I'll read it, you'll be shocked because many of you may not be knowing it. Right to information means the right to information accessible under this act, which is held by under the control of any public authority and includes the following. That is inspection of work, documents and records, taking notes, taking certified samples, obtaining information. Say, for example, you are working in a government college. Can I ask your principal to give me permission to sit and come and sit in your classroom? I want answer from any one of you. Can I ask under RTI by paying 10 rupees that I would like to come and sit in your class, in political science class that you take? I'd like to sit there actually for 1 hour, which is permitted under the Act. Heli sir.
Is not permitted, sir.
No, sir, not permitted.
No, sir. It is not
It's not
allowed.
permitted.
I'm talking about a government college. I'm not talking about a private college.
No, government college or private college also is not possible to.
Not permitted, sir.
Okay, got it. Is there anyone
Not
who says
included.
hello? Is there anyone who says actually it is permitted? Nobody.
No.
Look here. Look at actually the section 2J. Listen to me very carefully. Right to information means the right to information accessible on this act, which is held by or under the control of any public authority and includes inspection of work. What does it mean? I want to inspect your work. You are a teacher. I want to inspect your work. How can I inspect your work? I will have to come to your class, listen to your actual lecture, and see whether you are actually performing it properly or not. I am not actually saying this. This is what actually section 2J says. Look here. Inspection of work. Not only your work, your document, your records. I can even actually looking at your records, after that I can take notes. Extracts I can take. If I can't take actually the copies, I can take a certified copies. Taking certified samples. Obtaining information actually on diskettes, floppies, tapes, etc. So therefore, right to information is not just actually seeking information on a piece of paper by paying 2 rupees actually per page. Certainly not. I can even actually walk into your actually workspace and your work, inspect your work, and not only just inspect your work, I can even actually take down notes. Now, I was actually handling a class for the principals of the government college. A couple of years ago. And I asked the same question. The principal, just like we said, no, nothing doing, sir. I am not actually going to allow. There, the person actually asked by paying 10 rupees, I want to come and actually sit in the class of your political science lecturer, particularly. The principal denied, saying that, no, I am not going to, because you are not a political science expert, so that you can actually come and sit and assess actually the capability or competence of the teacher. Secondly, you have not actually paid any fees, you are not enrolled, therefore you are not supposed to sit. So these cases actually went up to Information Commission and the court also. It is clearly laid down. A person actually can certainly, I told actually the principal, if he pays actually 10 rupees, he can come and actually sit in a class for 1 hour. If he wants to sit for 1 more hour, he has to pay 20 rupees actually fee for another 1 hour and sit. But this creates huge problem, no? Would you like to, in fact, a stranger to come and sit in a class? How many of you like to, you do not have any objection for a stranger to come and actually sit in a class? Will you ever allow a stranger to come and sit in a class? See, I'll tell you the purpose behind this. The man actually who wants to come and sit in a class to verify actually whether performing properly or not is the one who pays you salary. He's the taxpayer. The man pays the tax. Out of the tax, your salary is paid. When you give actually wages to a worker, don't you have the right to, in fact, supervise that person's work? Do you have the right or not? You have the right. So therefore, the citizen, the taxpayer, has every right to come and actually inspect the work the person doing to whom he pays his wages. Right? But there are certain restrictions there. You can't simply allow a very nonsensical person to come and sit. Say, for example, you have Maharani's College in Mysore, it's a women's college. If Maharaja's College, boys actually determined to go and actually sit in the class in a Maharani's College, they can certainly do it by paying 10 rupees. Will that be allowed? Can that be allowed? Otherwise, Maharani's College will become Maharaja's College, because all the boys actually won't go and actually sit in Maharani's College. So therefore, there are plenty of actual restrictions. That is the reason why the teacher has to give the permission to come and actually sit in a class. The teacher. Say, you are the teacher. I want to come and sit in your class. So once I pay and actually ask, the principal will ask, so this man actually wants to come and sit in your class. Will you allow? If you say no, you will have to give reasons for that. If he says, no problem, subject to certain other conditions. What are the conditions? He must not actually create any kind of problem in the class. Right? So if you say, no, he doesn't want, I don't allow that person to come and sit, you must give the reasons why you don't give. If there are strong reasons that you don't want me, only then actually your refusal will be accepted. Otherwise, it will be permitted. This is one wonderful way of actually checking on every public servant who is supposed to discharge his duties, who is actually paying handsomely by the government. See, many of the teachers and every one of you must be knowing, I'll tell you, 70% of the total earnings actually of the state or the government is spent actually on the public servants and their facilities that is provided. 70% of the total revenue is being spent actually on all these departments and the salaries. The remaining, I'll tell you, what is the percentage of the public servants in the government? I'll tell you, in India, I'll tell you, not more than 8% of the total population actually is the public servant, government servant. The 8% of the people, I'll tell you, have the authority to consume nearly 70% of the total income. Remaining 92% of the people will have to be content actually with the remaining 30% of the resources. So that is why it has to be made very, very clear. That is it, right? Therefore, right information is not just, I'll tell you, seeking an information by paying 2 rupees. It is also, I'll tell you, verifying actually the documents. And there's one more actually thing called third party information. Say you're all paying income tax. Aren't you? You're all paying now. Huh? You're all paying, right? Raise your hands. You're all paying or you're not paying?
Yes, sir, we are paying now. We are paying.
Yeah, say so. Yes, raise your hand because you can't actually switch on the mic, you can say. You're all actually paying income tax. Can I ask actually your income tax returns in the government income tax department? I want to take actually your income tax returns from the income tax department. Do you agree? Do you permit? You would simply say, you have no business actually to seek into my income. I have actually declared my income, my expenditure to the government, income tax department. Income tax department actually will check on it. If we have actually not if I have concealed anything, the government actually, the income tax department to look into it. If I deliberately something done wrong, they will actually fine me or punish me. You are the third person, you don't have any business. This is exactly what is actually called third party information. Say, for example, you are a government servant, you have a government hospital in your town. You keep going to government hospital for some of your ailments. I am one of the residents of your town. I go and actually ask the government hospital doctor, I want the medical records of this particular teacher. Please give me. Will he give? Should he give? He cannot. It is your personal information. It's your personal information. But this third party information means you submit your information under law to the government. And any person who seeks actually will be a third party. Only under certain circumstances, third party information will be given. Otherwise, it will not be given. Okay, that's it. And now the question actually comes into picture. Section 4(1)(a) and B. This is from the point of administration, I'm telling you. Here, every public authority must actually make this information actually available. Before that, actually, this is the administrative actually setup you must create actually in your organization. What is that? All records of your office actually must be first catalogued, indexed, thirdly computerized, fourthly it must be connected to the network. These 4 things I'll tell you. You should do it. You should have done it actually way back in 2005, not in 2026. In 2025, October 15th, 12th itself, we should have done it. 1. Secondly, 17 kinds of information. You should always actually put it on the notice board or in your website. 17 kinds of information. It is actually called an information you on your own actually voluntary basis actually display it voluntarily on a public platform, maybe on the notice board or on your actual website, so that anybody can access to it. When you do this, actually 17 kinds of information clearly displayed actually in a public domain, not many people actually will come to you asking for the information, because most of the information they want is available actually in that. This is what exactly is called 4.1b information, where you have an authority to display on your own the information, 17 kinds of information. And what are those 17 kinds of information? I'll just actually tell you what are those 17 kinds of information. They are not that complex information. First is the particulars of organizations, functions, duties, and etc. etc. So you will have to mention the functions to organize. Say, for example, government first aid college, etc. And establishing such and such a year, etc. You must actually mention there in that first actually part the objective of and purpose of the particular, why this college was established, what was its mission and vision, brief history, duties of PS, etc. You must actually mention. This is the first information. This is about the basic information about actually your organization, your college name, when was it actually established, etc. etc. That is the first information. Secondly, powers and duties of the employees. So there is a principal, there are actually professors, and there are other actually teaching faculties, non-teaching, attenders, administrative staff, etc., etc. You must clearly mention the powers and functions of all these people. What does actually the power the principal has got? What powers actually HOD has got? What is the power of a teacher or demonstrator? Or what is the power of the office superintendent? Everything is so that someone actually comes to your college, he wants some kind of a work actually to be done. By looking into that particular 4.1b, he can go to the person directly instead of actually consulting or talking to various other people. So I want to in fact ask about actually the availability of the seat in a particular department. I do not have to in fact actually go and ask all actually 2 dozen people in order to get the information. I can straight away go to the person who deals with this. So this is again third one, procedure and decision making. How you take decisions. Say, for example, you have 25 seats in a particular department, you receive 50 applications for 25 seats. How will you select the people? Will you sell them actually to the highest bidder, or will you give them actually according to merit? How you do it? I want to know, because I want to in fact seek an information in your college, so that I would like to know how actually selections are being made, whether I meet actually those requirements or not. I need to know. Therefore, procedures actually of decision making. Thirdly, all the people who work in your college or organization, what are the rules and regulations they are supposed to follow? The principal, the professors, the office superintendent, lab technicians, what are their powers and functions? That you must clearly mention. And fifthly, all the rules, regulations, instructions, manual, records, everything connected to your college or authority must be clearly in fact actually put here, so that anybody wants to know something about actually a particular regulation, he must be in a position to understand it. These days it is not that difficult, because in a web page you can upload all these things and everything is available. And nextly, sixth one, statement of categories. What kinds of documents do you hold? What are the documents you hold? That you must do it. And seventhly, consultation arrangements, if at all, if you have made actually with any other authority. Say, for example, any technical actually bodies, or any corporate, or any kind of an industry, do you have any kind of a consultation actually arrangements, any kind of an MOU, etc., etc.? Please mention it. Do you have any kind of a board, council, committee, board, bodies, etc.? Under category number 8, you must mention that. And the directory of officers and employees. This is a very important thing. All the employees, right from the principals to the class 4 employee, you must actually mention their names, and everything should be clearly mentioned. Not only that, their monthly salary that they receive must also be mentioned against their name. And it should be displayed publicly. I'll tell you, it is not actually keeping under wraps in a file. It has to be displayed. Budget allocation. If yours is a government actually college, what is the budget actually government of Karnataka has allotted for the current year? That you must actually mention. And if there are any subsidy programs where you are actually helping somebody or where you are actually financially assisting some categories of people, that you must have to mention very clear. Not only that, if any person is receiving any kind of concession, permits, authorization granted, etc., must also be mentioned. Besides this, the 14th one actually is any information you hold it actually in electronic format, in digital format, whether you are computerized or not. And nextly, the 15th one is any kind of facilities you provide, actually someone comes to your actually institution asking for information. Usually the central government, you know what they do? They have a separate room called actually visitors room. And you will have to sit there actually before you want to meet somebody in the office. You will be given a glass of water if you want to drink, and there will be actually toilet facilities there. You can actually sit, relax, and actually talk to the concerned officers and go. But we can't expect this actually in a state government departments, no, because sometimes actually our officers themselves do not have the facility, right? And they can't actually afford to anybody else. And not only that, the most important thing is the names and designation of particular PIO. Who is your public information officer supposed to give this information to the man who wants to seek? So please tell me, any one of you, who is actually the public information officer in your college? Will anybody? Again, switch on the
Principal,
mic.
sir.
Huh?
Principal.
Principal, sir.
Principal?
The principal.
Anybody else? Okay, at least 2-3 people say principal. Is there anyone actually who says it is not the principal? Anybody else? I tell you, it all depends. Usually, the government actually has designated principal actually as the public information office. Say, for
Yes.
example, your college is a huge one. Principal has a great responsibility. There could be a registrar or the superintendent. He could be designated actually as a public information officer. This has to be designated by the government, not by you. And if the principal is given an option to designate, certainly he will not take the responsibility. He will give it to some actually administrative staff and wash his hands off. No, I will tell you. The designation of public information officer is to be carried out, done by the government. Government will do it. And not only that, the 17th one is any other information you want to share actually with the public. Any other information you can say. This is actually called 4.1b information, which is obligatory. Immediately after this training, go and actually check in your college whether this 17 information is available on the web page or on the notice board. If it is not available, if any of the persons actually ask for this information, if it is not available, your principal will be fined with 25,000 rupees fine. Not only that, I'll tell you, sometimes there could be departmental inquiry also, right? Go and actually tell your principal, sir, this 17 kind of information 4.1b must be displayed either on the notice board or on the web page. Otherwise, you will be punished. If there are any principals here, if you have not done it, please do it. Because, in our college, we tell all our students, because it's a practical actually work for them. They have to apply actually under RTI for some department, seek the information and bring that information. Only then their internal assessment marks will be awarded. They might actually go in search of your colleges also, right? Because they have to complete their actually what? Work, project work, and you will be in trouble. Therefore, it has to be done very carefully. Next. And what is the role of the public information officer? Is there anyone actually in this group who is a public information officer? Hello? Is there anybody here who is a public information officer? Nobody? Nobody?
No, sir. I don't think anyone is public information officer here.
No, you're mistaken. There are two kinds of information officers. One is designated by the government, Department of Higher Education. The second one is deemed public information officer. Say, for example, you are the principal in your college. Okay. I ask actually some information as an information seeker. I want to know something about your botany department. Some information about the botany department. So you as a principal, what will you do? transfer the application to HOD of the botany. Look, this is what the information actually the person wants from your department, give it. The moment you transfer to that particular person, because he is the person who is in charge of the department, you cease to be a public information officer, and your botany department HOD becomes immediately information officer. If the information is not given in this case, who will be fined? Botany HOD will be fined. Therefore, those who are sitting here saying that actually we are not responsible, you are grossly mistaken. No. You could also be a victim. I'll tell you, be ready. Nim principal nim ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾರು ಕಣ್ಣಿಟ್ಟು ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಬಾಣ ನಿಮ್ ತಲೆಗೆ ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ನಿಮ್ ಕೈಲೇ ಕಕ್ಕಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ 25,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ. Be careful, right? Any except your class 4 employees in your college, all others are equally responsible. All others. It is our principal's responsibility, sir. If you think your principal actually can give you a solid actually jerk to you, right? This is the file, you handle it, give the information. If you don't give it, go and actually pay 25,000 rupees fine or face actually department inquiry. Therefore, RT is applicable to everyone except class 4 employees. File equally applicable. So therefore, don't be under actually the impression that you are nowhere responsible under RTA. You are equally responsible. And here comes the appointment. There will be sometimes, look, this section 5 is very important. Section 5, paragraph 4 and 5 clearly says, it says, the public information officer, look at actually 5.4, may seek assistance of any officer for discharge of applications. Means the public information officer seek any of his colleagues to discharge the applications. And such officer shall render all assistance. Such officer whose assistance he has sought, he shall means he must. If it doesn't, he becomes personally responsible. Therefore, if there is no actually designated PIO here, you are all deemed PIOs. We are giving you a kind of a new designation. Go back to your college with a new designation. What is that new designation? Deemed Public Information Officer. On the responsibility and hegal mele hakondu hogಬೇಕಾಯ್ತದೆ ಈಗ, right? You are responsible for all these things. Next, and can anybody seek the information? Can anybody seek information? Under section 5, you will have to appoint actually public information officer, and your setup is too huge. There can also be an assistant public information officer, APIO they call it. This once again actually has to be decided by the government department, not by you. And according to section 6, how you can actually seek information, the supply of information, right? Supply of information or demand of information. If you want to seek some information, what is the procedure you must follow? So you will have to pay 10 rupees actually as a fee in Karnataka. It varies from state to state. I'm sure I'll tell you, anybody is from Andhra here? In Andhra, there is a variation. I think it is in some places absolutely no fee. In some places it could be 15. In Kerala, I think it is actually 10 rupees. In Chandigarh, maybe it is 15 or 20. It all depends on the government actually, which decides this. You have to pay the fees. And you will have to, in fact, actually make a request in a particular format. In every application where you are seeking information or somebody else is seeking the information, 3 things must be there. One is the seeker's name, address clearly. The seeker's name and address clear. The second one is the person who is supposed to get the information, his name, designation, address clear. Thirdly, and most importantly, the information what you want in clear terms. Right? As I mentioned under 2F, that kind of an information you must see. If these three things are there, with 10 rupees actually or whatever the fee actually, accompanied by the receipt of that particular payment, that's a valid application. That's a valid application. And do you have to give the reason why you want information? Do you have to give actually a reason for seeking the information? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because this information is your information. When you are seeking your information, you do not have to give actual reason for it. There is absolutely no point in actually giving any reason. The reason for no. And section 7, within what time the information should be given? Within what time? As soon as possible, I'll tell you the information should be given. So there are 4 timelines I already mentioned. Generally, information must be given 30 days. 30 days. In some cases, it is 48 hours. 48 hours. You know, when within 48 hours you're supposed to give information, where a person's liberty and life is actually at stake. His liberty and his life is at stake. Under those circumstances, within 48 hours, it should be given. One thing. 48 hours, 30 days. In some cases, it is 35 days. You know when 35 days? See, sometimes actually without knowing actually where you can get your information, you give the application to a wrong department. Say you want some information actually from agriculture department, you give the application to sericulture department, thinking that sericulture is also agriculture. But there are 2 departments. So your information of agriculture department is not available with agriculture department. What actually the payer must do? He cannot reject actually the application. I'll tell you. You take actually to the agriculture department an application relating to atomic energy, they must receive. They must receive. Within 5 days, they must transfer it to appropriate department. 1. Here 35 days. Receive it, within 5 days you transfer it. If you are an APIO, Assistant Public Information Officers, you don't have any other authority other than simply receiving the information, application and sending it to the Public Information Officer. So here, if at all, if your application is submitted to Assistant Public Information Officer, within 5 days, he must actually do it. These are the 2 instances where the time limit actually is 35. And in some extreme cases, it is 40 days. 40 days. What is that 40 days? I seek some information actually from your principal. Your principal says, no, this is a personal information I can't give. No, sir, it is not a personal information. You must give me. Then you know what he does? He will actually send you a notice to you. Look, someone is asking this information about you. Should it be given or not? You should answer within 10 days. If you don't answer within 10 days, you have deemed to have consented. You have actually consented to it. That I must. If you do not want to give that information, you must give actually proper reasons why you should not be given. That's very important. So this is 10 days. You don't respond at all for next 10 days. Automatically deemed consent, it is assumed and it is given. Right? This is the request and disposal. And there's one more thing you must understand. Whenever you receive an application, you have only 3 choices. In your office when they receive. 1, if the information is available in my office. The moment you think that actually information is available in office, give immediately. Don't wait actually till 30 days. Secondly, if the application that you received is not actually belong to your department, within 5 days, transfer to the appropriate department, inform the applicant. Your information is available in such a department, I have transferred it to that department, go and actually pursue the information your letter in that department. So this is, lastly, you have the information, but you need not give that information because that information is exempted. Exempted means you need not give. Only 3 things actually give. Now I would like to just tell you what are those exempted information. This information you may have in your department, but you need not give. There are 10 such information, 8(1) A to J, section 8, paragraph 1, A to J, 10 kinds actually of what information, even if you possess, you need not give. Firstly, any information which would affect sovereignty and integrity. The sovereignty and integrity of the country actually is in stake by giving this information. Don't give that information. My question is, do you have any such crucial information about the sovereignty, integrity of the country in your college? Absolutely not. Yes, actually, is a Punya Koti college, I'll tell you, where no such information actually is kept. So therefore, you don't have to worry. But there are plenty of departments where the keep actually such confidential actually information that cannot be given. Okay, first one. Secondly, any information which has been expressly forbidden by the court. If the court actually says these kinds of information till further orders, don't actually give it to anybody. If court actually has given such a direction, you can't violate that direction. You have the information, you are prepared to give, you are ready to give, but the court says don't give till further orders. You don't give. So this could be, this kind of information could be there in your college also. Third one is all our legislators, MPs and MLAs, enjoy 5 kinds of privileges. 5 privileges enjoyed. The first one is freedom of speech. In a sense, inside the assembly, they can speak anything they like. They can speak sense, nonsense, fantastic nonsense, anything they can speak. Nobody can question it. They can't go to court. If they do the same thing outside the assembly, a case will be filed for defamation in the court of law. But inside, even if he speaks actually some utterly nonsensical nonsense, you cannot, because that's the privilege given to the legislators. Secondly, control over its affairs. Say, for example, within parliament or state legislature, entire actually maintenance of order actually is the responsibility of the house, the speaker. Have you ever seen actually police officers inside actually the assembly or parliament? No, you can't. They cannot enter. It is the responsibility of in-house arrangement, and police cannot do it. You cannot violate it. You cannot violate it. Thirdly, anything that actually happens inside the house, it is to be published by the house itself. You can't actually go as a visitor, listen to everything, video or something, and tomorrow come and actually give it to a TV channel to publish it. No, no, no. Anything that happens inside the house must be published only by whom? By the people who are authorized to do it within the house. And lastly, anybody does anything wrong inside the house, only the house will punish them, nobody else. These are the privileges, 5 privileges. So, if any such information is asked which violates these 5 privileges, you need not give. That's one thing. And next is information including commercial confidence, trade secrets, intellectual property. I'll tell you. You are a scientist, you are a researcher, you have invented some kind of a device, I'll tell you, where the device actually costs 25,000 rupees. If you use the device, no mosquitoes will ever actually enter your house. Within 2 kilometers radius, no mosquitoes will ever actually live. That's the kind of device you have actually invented. You have taken actually a patent on that. So, and if I want to buy, I have to pay for 25,000 rupees actually for each of the device and buy it. But what I do, I'm terribly, smart person. You know what I do? I go to the patent office, pay 10 rupees, per page 2 rupees. I want actually the formula of that particular device. Can they give that? It is not possible. Because that is there actually what? Copyright or patent. It cannot be shared. That is one thing it cannot be. Not only that, trade secrets. Some people actually do the business. Similar actually businessman actually will not be able to earn as much as this person earns, because he has some kind of a trick. I'll tell you a trade secret. By using it, he makes huge business. What is that secret? Please give me. No, you can't ask. Nobody will ever give. So this is it. And sixth one is information which is available in fiduciary capacity. Fiduciary capacity is that capacity where you get the information of the other person because he is so close to you, he believes in you, he doesn't mind sharing that information with you. Say, for example, you are involved in a legal battle, serious criminal actually case, you are involved in it. So the police actually have booked you under some act. Now you want to, in fact, actually take relief. So you approach an advocate. You approach. The advocate first actually thing he asks is, tell me what happened. You will have to tell the whole bloody nonsense. You have committed a crime, you must tell. Done any omissions, you must tell. So that actually that advocate actually can help you get out of the problem, isn't it? So once actually you tell the whole bloody thing actually to the advocate, no police, no intelligence people can actually approach the advocate and say, what did he say? Please tell. It is useful actually for our information. No, 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 no. There are two people I'll tell in the world where you cannot lie. One is doctor, where you must go and actually tell all your problems, even the problem you have not actually been sharing with your own wife or husband. When you go to a doctor, even though you know the doctor actually is an unknown person, you are seeing actually that person for the first time, though he looks crooked, you will have to share the information. Because only when you share all the information, you will be able to, in fact, diagnose your problem and give you medicine, isn't it? So, but there is a rule which actually says when such information, intimate information is confided actually with a doctor, he is not supposed to reveal it. This is one person. Who is the other person where you cannot lie? Anybody? One is doctor. You will have to speak the truth. Otherwise,
Lawyer. Lawyer, sir. Lawyer.
Yes.
yes,
Lawyer.
exactly.
Lawyer.
Yes, exactly, exactly. When you go to a lawyer, you must tell, yesterday I
Good
committed
advocate.
dacoity, sir. Yesterday I committed actually murder, sir. You will have to tell the lawyer. Only lawyer will be able to help you. If you don't tell the lawyer, you will go to jail because he will not be able to help you. And after having told everything that you have committed, can the police come and actually talk to the lawyer and seek the information? No, no. That is exactly what is actually called exempted information, fiducial relationship. See, once, what happened, a woman actually went to a doctor. And she asked the doctor, sir, doctor, one person comes here who is thin, tall, and fair. I want actually his medical background. Means is he suffering from any kind of medical issues? Is he healthy, etc.? I want to know. The doctor says, I'm sorry, you are a third person. I don't know who you are. He is my patient. His information I cannot give. The woman actually was not ready. Not only is about health information, I want to also know whether he is HIV positive or negative. The doctor actually gets terribly upset. What is this nonsense? Why you want it? Who are you? You know what the lady says? I want to marry that person, therefore I want information. Do you have to give that information? Look at actually that wonderful lady. Instead of going to a Jyotishi, she has gone directly to the doctor to find out actually whether he is healthy or not. When he says nothing doing, I'm not actually going to give. Then she says, if you cannot actually give me one certificate. What is the certificate? That he will be hale and healthy for next 35 years. Which doctor will give you? The doctor at the most will give you tomorrow morning whether you wake up or not. But he cannot actually say that he will live for another 35, 40 years. No such certificate can be given. So then give me some kind of a solution, doctor, I want to marry him. Then the doctor actually dials that lady, calls that lady, that person. Look, here is a woman who has come actually wants to know your actual health condition. Shall I give? If the man says, okay, no problem. If he says no, you cannot give. Because it's a personal information, confidential information. Similarly, can you say, there are quite a number of ladies here, I want to ask them a question. Can you go and actually ask the bank manager to open your husband's locker? I'm asking actually the ladies who are sitting here.
No, sir. No, sir.
Your husband, you are not asking actually my locker to be opened, your husband's.
No,
You're
sir. We
better
can't.
off.
No,
No.
sir. No.
Nah, come on, tell me you and your husband are one and the same actually under the law.
Unless until it's a joint account, we can't, sir.
You can't. Because, till 1955, women did not actually have their identity at all. The moment actually if a baby girl is born, her identity actually was merged with the father. And if the father died, the identity merged actually with the elder brother. Once she got married, then identity got merged with the husband. If the husband died, her identity got merged actually with the eldest son. So she did not have any identity at all. In 1955, when Hindu Marriage Act was passed, For the first time in India, I'll tell you, woman actually was given her own identity, where from there onwards she could actually act independently, open a bank account independently, live an absolutely independent life. Right? Your husband also cannot come and actually ask his wife actually locker to be opened. No. So ಅಮ್ಮ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು ನಮ್ಮ ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ. ಅವ್ರು ನಿಮಗೆ ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್ ನಮ್ಗಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂದವನು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್. Because only the person who has been actually authorized to open can be opened. Right? This is fiduciary relationship. This fiduciary relationship, say for example, you're all teachers now. You value papers after the examination, don't you? ಹೌದಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ತಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಾಡ್ಸಿ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿ, ಮೈಕ್ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇಡ. Yes, you do it.
ಹೌದು.
Some of the students actually want to know who is the teacher actually who valued my economics paper. I want name and address. Should the university give?
No, sir.
See, in Kerala, same thing happened. I think there must be some people actually in Kerala in this group. They asked, they gave because that teacher actually had done something wrong. The students actually go and went and attacked and cut off his actually right hand so that he can never actually value again. So therefore, I'll tell you, it cannot be given. If you have done something wrong, I'll tell you, it is not actually the student who should actually initiate action against you. It's the university that will do. Because it is a confidential information. Be that as it may. Next is, any information your government receives actually from the foreign governments, in confidential information, that you cannot ask, government will not. Right? That is one thing. Nextly, any information which endangers the life, that information cannot be given. Right? And nextly, any investigation that is going on, you cannot actually ask about the details of the investigation till it is completed. Cannot. And last but one is cabinet decisions you can ask, not the deliberations. Right? Entire cabinet, what decision it takes, you can ask. What minister, which minister, what he said, you cannot actually ask. It is not actually possible. And lastly, very, very personal information. What you have for breakfast every day, where you go with your husband or wife walking, which is your favorite actually movie, which God you worship. These are personal information. These are all very, very personal information. You can't be asked. You cannot. Someone asked, what is actually BP and sugar level actually for Prime Minister? When Manmohan Singh actually was the Prime Minister, someone asked this information. I want to know his BP, blood pressure, and his sugar level. So the doctors actually, PMO answered, no, it is stable. We 5 doctors are 24/7 actually, we are keeping a watch on that. You don't have to worry, it cannot be given. But that person asked one more question. Before the election, actually, he underwent a surgery where in All India Institute of Medical Science. What was the cost of the surgery and who paid? We have only one Prime Minister, no? Right? And who should actually pay his medical bills? Who should pay? We ordinary teachers claim actually medical bills. You think actually our Prime Minister cannot pay? They gave the answer saying that 18 lakh rupees actually was the bill. It was paid actually by the government of India. Right? That's one thing. One more person asked equally interesting question. It seems Sonia Gandhi has got some kind of a problem. What is that problem? And we are also told that she has spent 1,800 crores for the treatment. Who paid the bill? Both questions cannot be answered. What is your disease? I can't ask. That's the personal information. And who paid actually 1,800 crores? Government of India has not paid, because that is the budget actually of a state, health budget of a state. She must have actually paid by herself or anybody else. Since the government has not actually paid, it cannot be given. Like that, there are plenty of actually things I tell you. For example, these things you cannot ask. Racial and ethnic origin of yours cannot be asked. Your political opinion, if you're a public servant, I'll tell you, your political opinion cannot be asked. Your religious beliefs cannot be asked. They don't have to ask, but we exhibit our religious belief. Ilva? ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರು ಕೇಳಿದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಯಾವ ಜಾತಿ, ಯಾವ ಧರ್ಮ, ಯಾವ ಸೆಕ್ಟ್, ಏನು, and if you ask the name, everything is actually available, but anyway, you're not supposed to ask. Sexual orientation should not be asked. You can never ask a question to a man, are you a man? If you ask him, he becomes terribly upset. ನೀನ್ ಗಂಡ್ಸೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಎಂತ ಕೋಪ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅವನಿಗೆ. ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಹೆಂಗ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳು, ನೀವ್ ಹೆಂಗ್ಸಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿ ನೋಡಿ ಒಂದ್ಸರಿ. Reaction will be wonderful, right? She will smash actually your face. But unfortunately, this is an information. It is required, right? Because we also have a third category. What is actually called the people. They do not actually belong to any particular actually sex as such. So therefore, sexual orientation cannot be asked because someone actually asked BBC. How many people are there who are actually lesbians and how many actually homosexuals are there? Because there are 21,000 actually employees working for BBC. Now, BBC clearly said there are 450 people who are homosexuals and there are 600 people who are actually lesbians. Can we give that information? No, we don't actually collect. And there they collect it and you have that identity to be maintained. Now, be that as it may, all these things. Now, before, look, these are all the personal information. How much time do I have actually before break? Can anybody tell me? What time you are supposed to have a break?
2:15.
So another 2 minutes. I'll just conclude. Look, these are the personal information you are not supposed to give. Name, address. So someone stranger actually on the way comes and actually, what's your name? What's your husband's or wife's name? What's your daughter studying? Will you ever give the information? No, you will never give it to a stranger. Similarly, I'll tell you, when you put this actually information on the public domain, in India itself actually 146 crore people can see it. How can you reveal your own actually self-information, private information? But if someone asks, cannot. Democratic, your age, gender, marital status is a private information. Your nationality is a private information. Education detail is a private. To a stranger, you should not give. Financial details, absolutely personal, it cannot be given. Health information, no. Employment legal information should not be given. Okay, be that as it may. We have an act called Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which provides the security. Before I conclude, 2-3 things I would like to just tell you. You can apply by paying 10 rupees. If you are a BPL card holder, you do not have to pay application fee. For 100 pages, you can get the free information if you are a BPL card holder. Above 100 pages, A4, A5, 2 rupees, 1 rupee you have to pay. For other people, APL and other actually non-BPL card holders, 10 rupees application fees you will have to pay. And for each page, you have to pay A4, A5, 2 rupees. That's it. So your application should not contain more than 150 words in Karnataka government. If you are seeking information from the central government, your letter seeking information should not exceed 250 words. This is it. So the information should be given, depends on the information within 48 hours, within 30 days or 35 days or 40 days as I mentioned. If you don't actually get any kind of a reply, I'll tell you, within 30 days, you can go to first appellate authority. In your case,